Kalen, would you do us the honors of pouring the J&B?
Fuck yeah, I will.
When you're done, you can just send it on the back desk. Label forward, of course, obviously.
Labels out, y'all. When in doubt, labels out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are recording. So,
oh God.
Brian, you have just discovered that Kalen is the thing. Using only the tools in this garage at your disposal. How do you kill him?
Water heater.
Water heater. Explain.
Get to the fire source, light that bitch on fire, torch his ass, use some J&B. I don't know. Molotov them, I don't know. That's my first game.
Molotov.
I don't know, the only way they kill that thing was with fire for the most part, so.
That's true. Kalen, same question.
I find out that I'm the thing.
Yeah. Same question, just the reverse.
You beat me to it.
Golly. I don't think I could actually use that to kill him,
There's
so...
some child's tools over there if you think you
could make that work.
good use of that.
Gosh. Well, if he's sitting this close to me, I mean...
You're not in a good spot. You gonna punch him?
Punch him? I'm so dead. Are you kidding me? Like, I mean, what am I gonna do? I'm deader than fried chicken, bro. Like, what's at my disposal? I throw some whiskey at him. Wait for me, you monster.
Throw it in his face. Maybe it works like, sulfuric acid. You never know.
I'd probably go try and pick up one of your weights and try to hit him with it, because that could at least do some blunt force trauma and maybe, probably not though. Probably dead. That's what I'm thinking.
Ladies and gentlemen, I paid Kalen to mention my weights. That's
right.
I work out.
Oh, it's a nice water heater.
What a nice apartment with a water heater and everything. Jeez.
Brian, you get 0 points.
I would have survived. Fuck you. You'd be dead.
But, J&B is sponsoring this episode, so I'm sure they're going to be very happy that you mentioned their brand.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Hey.
Welcome back to the Jony Horror Podcast.
That was significantly smoother than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's still scotch,
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thoughts on your first sip of J&B?
I expected just straight gasoline. But
not to get all nerdy, but scotch
please
is
do.
scotch. Like, there are laws, regulations, and traditions to making scotch that are, very well kept and held. So, there's really no such thing as terrible scotch. It doesn't really exist.
You're not going to get, like, a plastic bottle of scotch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not how it's made as a whiskey. So I'm not surprised. I've never had a really terrible scotch before.
No, that's not bad.
yeah, that was a lot smoother than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Especially for this half pint you poured me. Thank God. It's
I was noticing that, actually. I was like, I feel like later in the night, you feel just like a hand on your thigh.
I'm just going to write it off to the 5 fingers of fucking J&B I got going over here.
It's actually a little bit of revenge. I don't know if you heard me in Johnny's last podcast, but at the end of it, I just I'm fine, I'm coherent, I'm fine, I'm coherent, I'm fine, I'm coherent. At the end, I just fall right off a fucking cliff. No man, it's bad. I just suddenly go hey, fucking sucks. I'm toasted.
It was one where I had to tell him after the fact, I was like, yeah, buddy, I had a little bit more that I was going to do, but I was noticing that you weren't there, and I was like,
you
okay,
were kind of gone. We're done now.
We got to wrap this up.
Yeah,
and the best part,
fell asleep.
he left it in. He left in the part where I'm like, I'm fucking.
I'm not as good of an editor to just like cut out an entire ending and figure out how to make it work. I'm sorry.
You gotta use AI, man.
He legit was like, yeah, I gotta go to the bathroom. And like when he went, I was like, all right, cool, we'll wrap this up. And he came back, it was like he took 2 shots of tequila.
No, it was like it all jumped on my back at once. I was just suddenly like, oh, I'm dead.
You shouldn't have gotten that. That's a killer right there.
It was.
Good lord. Well, you know, we'll see where this night takes
So a
us.
little bit of revenge, yeah.
Was I even here for that?
No, but guilt by association.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as with anything, if it's not your fault, it's my fault, you know, and vice versa.
Is it because you wouldn't have survived?
That too.
Because I killed you.
Yeah. Shouldn't have killed me with your tentacles.
Well, we are back at the Jony Horror Podcast. I am your host, Jony Horror. Thanks for tuning in. I know it's been a minute since I've had a proper podcast on this episode with guests in person. So if you're here, you're listening, very excited for this episode. I have 2 awesome guests with me. Goodness gracious, it's already been a wild ride. We've been doing this 5 minutes. So, first and foremost, my co-host of the Johnny Jaws cast, my partner in crime. Gosh, I don't know how many other accolades I could put upon him. My best friend, the guy who married my wife and I. He slept on my couch for like a month. Introduce yourself.
Brian Calvert.
Not nearly the.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Brian Calvert.
Hard to follow after the homeless bit at the end there, but
Throw that in.
7 years ago. But
Brian Calvert.
Brian is occasionally homeless, guys. Don't judge him.
Trying to have all these great things to say about you and then immediately undercut it. That was the first thing that came to mind. And then frequent guest on the pod, humanitarian, just dedicating hours of his life to feeding the hungry and pastor of the year. Introduce yourself.
He's only okay. Kalen Behrman.
Yeah, fellas. Thanks for being here. This was
I live in your garage.
right underneath that desk, actually.
Quick commute.
He has a couple of bendy straws attached to my mini fridge, kind of like a hamster does. It's just he's sucking out the little bits of Coors Light.
Yeah, it's that in the water heater.
Oh gosh. Yeah, thanks for being here, fellas. This is a movie that I've wanted to talk about for a long time and wasn't really sure what format I wanted to do it in, whether it was, just a straight up review is hard to do with a film like this because, ideally I like to give some criticism, not to, jump too far ahead, but I do like to be able to have some stuff to talk about. And with a movie like this, in terms of reviewing it, I feel like that review would be fairly bland at the end of the day. So getting here to sitting here with you guys, being able to talk about it, I'm really looking forward to it. So we're just gonna jump right into it. We are discussing John Carpenter's The Thing. It is a 1982 science fiction horror film starring Kurt Russell, based off of the novella Who Goes There by John W. Campbell. During the flick's initial run, it was widely panned for being too gory, too dark, and not nearly as much fun as another Alien movie released 2 weeks earlier that year. Any guesses what flick that may be? I know you know. Do you know? Huh?
Little Mermaid.
No, do you have a real
Alien
guess, though?
movie.
What?
An Alien movie from 1982. Do you have a guess?
That's cheating. I was looking to guess. Alien, but I couldn't remember its release date, so that's clearly not it.
Alien came out like 3 years prior.
Yeah, when you do that, comparatively, wow, those are harsh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do I know what it is now?
Do you want to tell the listeners?
I don't.
No? Okay, Kalen, you can tell.
It's E.T.
Oh,
There we go.
Steven Spielberg's classic masterpiece E.T.
You can kind of see how the general audience might favor one over the other.
Sure.
I mean,
Two different flavors of perfect movie, in my opinion.
There we go. We're talking about our rankings hours before we even get there. In the film, a group of scientists discover a shape-shifting extraterrestrial being out of the Arctic that infiltrates their camp and slowly begins to absorb each man one by one. Blah, blah, blah. We've seen it all before. Kind of. In the 1950s, Howard Hawks did a loose adaptation of Campbell's novella, albeit the shape-shifting monster is replaced with a lumbering Frankenstein's monster-esque vegetation-based alien. Have either of you seen the 1951's Thing from Another World?
no, I have not.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I haven't.
It's
I feel like I would like it, though.
That
it
sounds-
is
yeah.
like there's like the basis of the film is like 100% the same. Like the sets look the same. Obviously, it's in black and white.
Yeah.
There are full-blown set pieces that are done to much grander effect in this version of the film. Like the alien bursting through the wall on fire and everything,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is arguably more impressive back in the 1950s.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is this kind of like giant vegetable guy that they find. It doesn't exactly work with the whole Arctic vibe in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this group of people.
Is it like a muck monster?
Yeah, kind of think like the Swamp Thing
Okay.
meets Frankenstein's monster,
Okay.
basically.
All right.
But a lot of kind of like the beats, like the discovering of the alien and this, that, or the other, kind of along the same vein. But I feel like almost the prequel, and we'll get into this later, but the prequel takes a lot more stuff from that version than this film does.
Huh.
But it's funny because if you guys are kind of familiar with your horror, then you would know that John Carpenter used this film to play in the background of one of his most famous movies before he had the opportunity to make this picture. Brian, do you know what John Carpenter used in the background? Used the Thing from Another World to play on in the background.
Halloween.
Yay! Good
Yay!
job! Nice.
Yeah.
Is that the only other John Carpenter movie that you know?
Probably.
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
But
The
I
odds were in
remember
your
that
favor.
scene,
pretty
though.
good,
I did
though.
remember that scene, though.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good. Good.
Yeah, suck it. Put me on the spot. Fucking dick.
You guys are talking about that. I'm gonna do my usual OCD.
We're
make
talking
sure.
about that.
Right. Yeah. Hey, we're recording. Great. Yes.
Oh.
And
talk.
you know, it's a little toasty in here. It's currently it's 63 degrees outside, but we had a hot day, right? Probably in the mid to high 70s today, but we are not. We're in the thick of summer. And these guys at the beginning of the film are in the first goddamn week of winter. In this particular section, we will be discussing just kind of like our first introductions to this film, or if you guys have a personal anecdote or fond memory of watching this flick. It doesn't have to be the first time you saw it, but if there's anything that really, like, you think about this flick, you think about this particular memory involved with it. Brian, you got something?
Yeah, I remember the first time I watched it with my dad. I don't remember how old I was, but I was pretty young. Probably too young to be watching this. and remember being terrified of the entire thing.
Rightfully so.
But I also remember my dad just like dying laughing during the blood testing scene. Obviously, that was like a core memory of mine of him just being like just cracking up at like these guys trying to scoot away from him while he's opening up basically. And watching it again, I told Kelsey about that today. I was like, yeah, I remember watching this with my dad. Just like now, it makes me laugh as well. Back then, I was horrified and traumatized by like this entire film.
Not only are these terrible things happening to these poor men, but my dad's laughing maniacally.
Why are you enjoying it?
100%.
I think he might be a sociopath.
Yeah, no, I remember that though as a child. It was it's a fucking stays with you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Anytime if you identify yourself as a child, like watching this flick,
Right.
too young.
Yeah,
that's true.
100%.
That's true.
God.
That's true for sure.
Kalen, what about you?
Watching with my dad as a child. Yeah, my dad was a big old cinephile. He loved movies, and he really loved this movie. And he didn't, I mean, God, I must have been like 7 years old watching Alien and The Thing and The Exorcist.
Did not give a fuck.
Yeah, dude, my dad didn't give a fuck, dude. He was like, he's fine. He was, dude. And so, so I watched this probably like 7 years old with my dad. And, I mean, it scared me, but I also thought it was like cool as shit. You know, I loved the monsters and the scary sequences and stuff. Definitely a movie that hits you differently as an adult than as a kid. As an adult, you kind of understand the other aspects of the movie differently. But yeah, I've liked it since I was a little boy.
Yeah.
Loved this movie my whole life.
I had no idea what was going on when I watched it.
Right.
Even watching it again today, I was just like, I picked up on like 10 new things.
Right.
It's just like, oh my god.
I mean, we'll talk about this as we go on.
Yeah, I don't wanna jump
obviously, the paranoia aspect is
Right.
just that hits on a different level. Just the older you get, the more kind of in tune with your mortality. You're like,
Right.
people are scary.
Humans are squishy, mortal creatures. The more you realize that.
So I did not see this film. No pod is complete without.
Do you have ice cream, Dada? Do you have ice cream, Daddy?
I don't have ice cream, babe.
I'm just going to check.
Go ask Mom if she's got ice cream.
I'm just gonna check. It's got a good attitude.
I mean, solid question.
Yeah,
It is. It is.
I mean, we are in the first goddamn week of winter. Like, why wouldn't there be ice cream?
There should be ice cream.
Stupid.
He watched it with me today. That's. He was mostly on his iPad. It was one of those things where I was like, "Don't look, just don't."
Yeah.
He's like, "Why? Why can't I watch?" I was like, "It's not for babies."
Yeah.
Why? Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not a baby movie. But I didn't see this film until I would say I was probably 20. Just kind of at the start of my like getting deep into horror. Yes, son.
Got some ice cream.
You got some ice cream?
He got some. Yeah. We need your help though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. You better take this back up to your mom, okay?
Okay. Dada, are you having a nice day, Dada?
Having a nice day, bud. Okay, you better go upstairs with Mom.
Bye, Kalen.
Bye, buddy. Bye.
Later, Papa.
Well, when you're done, can I visit you, Dada?
Yeah, baby, when I'm done, okay?
Well, wait, why you have a candle here?
What?
Why you have a candle here?
Oh, because it smells nice.
It smells nice.
Yeah, it helps with lighting.
It's to deal with Uncle Brian.
Whoa.
He doesn't have a shower in here, so.
Burn.
I know. That's just getting it from all ends.
Wait.
thought about it. He was gonna go inside.
He thought about it. He was like, nah.
Seems kind of fun.
Guys,
Ragging on Uncle
keep the
Brian.
train
I could stick around for this. I'm surprised he didn't watch it until he was 20. That is mind blowing to me.
So, well, it's funny you say that, dude, because when I met Jony, I think I met him when he was 18, but we became friends when he was 20.
Okay.
And he was clearly like this sheltered Christian boy.
Right.
Who was like coming into the world of like
opening in.
is who he is now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it was like I met him during that sort of transitional phase from one to the
We
other.
met when you were what, 22 then?
Yeah, so this is like I think
Right.
my memory's pretty vivid of like being in one of Celeste's house, and I was just like sitting on her couch. She was like doing stuff, and I was like, "Oh, I'll put on this movie." Like I've always kind of like heard about it. It sounds really cool, but like my understanding of the film, I'm not really sure why. I don't know why I was getting it confused, but I did not think it was like gonna be what it was. Like I thought it was gonna be a very mild film.
Daddy, can I have your chocolate?
Yeah, of course. And so when I started watching the movie, I was just like, yeah, this is pretty cool. This is great. This is all fun and interesting. And then like when the dog sequence happened, I was like, what is happening?
It just goes off the rails.
Yeah, I was not prepared for that at all. I do. So I have that memory of like watching it and just being kind of like taken aback, and then being very, very. The first time I watched it, I was very, very frustrated with the ending.
Of course.
Just my type A personality and wanting closure. This is before I really kind of had my brain expanded. You got to understand that like when the movies that I was raised with were like a lot of epics and like blockbusters, so there's like tends to be a finality to the ending of those types of films. So I was really just starting to branch out and go into other directions. But one of the ones that sticks with me the most is probably the second time I watched it. I watched it with my brother. Like we had gone to Fry's to pick up some movies, Fry's in Oxnard when that was still open and alive. We would always go and kind of like get a handful of movies, each of us, and I think I got The Thing and I wanted to watch it. And probably my second time watching it, and on our way back to Ventura, because Costco was right next to Fry's, we got Costco pizza, and I remember, of course, just what a poor decision that was, because Costco pizza is the closest thing I can say that is like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pizza, where it's just like very, floppy, and like the cheese is very dense, and I just remember like being kind of losing a taste for that pizza whilst watching The Thing.
That checks out. So I saw this movie before you did. That's got it first.
Yeah, you both did. I mean, I feel like he's got me beat on a lot of flicks.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure that I have seen Blood Rage and you haven't.
That's
so.
right.
Classic.
Have you watched Quantumania yet?
No, I'm not going to ever.
I've got a lot of those.
You can keep on getting me with that one too. You can ask me 10 years from now, have you seen Quantumania? I'll be like, nope.
Oh, this is gonna be a thing now. Okay.
Well, so I'm already fed up with you two dudes, and like I can't imagine having to spend like 6 months locked away in a base camp with you.
Right. That setting is
like
insane.
All the characters do in Outpost 31. So here at Outpost 31, we're just going to do a very, very brief rundown of the characters in this film, just so as we progress, we more or less know who we're referencing, because there are quite a few characters in this film, and they all kind of have an integral part to play in one way, shape, or form. So we're not really gonna discuss the characters too much in depth now. We're just gonna touch base just so we're familiar with them and kind of move from there. So obviously, first and foremost, we have Kurt Russell as R.J. McCready, the helicopter pilot. We have Wilford Brimley as Blair, the senior biologist. We have T.K. Carter as Knowles. He's the cook.
He's got the roller skates, right?
He's got the roller skates.
I love that
I
guy.
always think about him
So cool.
listening to Very Superstitious.
Yeah.
We have David Clennon as Palmer. He's the assistant mechanic. I just think of him as like, punk rock and roll.
Oh,
'cause
Palmer,
he's got the
He's
Denim
very
vest.
cool.
the
Yeah.
vest. He's
Yeah.
always smoking weed.
Smoking weed, I love
That's
that.
right. Jamming.
Back in 1982, when smoking weed was like legitimately rebellious and countercultural.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
think about like the fact that they're like at this science base.
Yeah.
He's just smoking
Shooting
weed
it
on
up.
the regular.
That's
It's not
right.
even just
Yeah.
him in his
He's
bedroom.
cruising.
Like they're
Nope.
just like trying to figure out
He's
what
out
the
and
fuck,
about. He's
why the
cheesing it up.
Norwegians were shooting at him. He's just lighting up a doobie, like ready to go.
Chilling.
We have Keith David as Childs, which, if I
Right.
remember right, this is Keith David's first role. And I mean,
Oh,
that's pretty
That's
fucking
big.
astounding.
Yeah.
he kills it.
So he's the chief mechanic. I don't know if I ever
I don't think I
got
knew
that or, was aware of
I
that.
never knew it was real.
Let's jump back to Wilford Brimley really quick. Obviously, Wilford Brimley, very, very famous for his diabetes commercials.
right.
But
Jeez.
I didn't realize that
Wow.
because he's very much mustacheless in this
This is
film.
Blair, right?
He's
Right.
the senior biologist.
Right.
He's the one that was poking at the thing corpse with his pencil, and then
Right.
touches that very same pencil to his mouth moments later, and I'm like, yeah,
Wise.
cool, you're infected. But
Definitely something a biologist would do with an alien.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Mhm.
That's the stress on the word senior.
Yeah.
Like he's losing a little bit. All right. Out in the,
Damn.
we have Richard Dysart.
Just Dicer.
Dysart as Dr. Copper, the physician. Pretty cool
Oh, the doc, yeah.
doctor. Maybe a little bit too nosy for his own good, but I like his little earring that he's sporting.
Gotta sport those earrings.
But yeah, he's the one that suggests that they go check out the Norwegian base camp
Right.
and everything, and meets a fairly grisly demise.
Dude.
We have Charles Hallahan as Norris, the geologist. Kalen, you're a smart guy. Which one's a geologist? What does a geologist do?
A geologist is like a scientist of like rocks.
Yeah?
Yeah, like the earth and like the different layers of the earth and like fossils and
Gotcha.
they kind of get a snapshot of things happening in time by looking at like different layers in the fossilization and things like that. Yeah.
Get it, got it.
I can't even think of who that is.
He's the one whose chest opens and his head.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Then we have Peter Maloney as George Bennings, meteorologist, we'll just call him
yeah.
Claus.
Right. Yeah.
He's the one who gets tagged with the Norwegian bullet, right?
Yeah, he's the one who gets shot.
Yeah.
What does he say? Knowles, can you turn down that music? I was shot today.
Yeah, I'm trying to sleep.
I do love that.
I
line.
was shot
do love
today.
that.
I love that.
We have Richard Macer. We'll say Macer. That looks like Macer. Richard Macer
Sure, Macer.
as Clark, the dog handler. 10 points to the guest or co-host who can name what other very, very famous horror 1990s horror TV movie this man also
Oh.
starred in. I feel like that's about as on the nose as I could possibly be.
Poltergeist? That's my
TV
first
movie.
guess.
Not a movie with a TV, but a movie made for TV.
Oh,
Yes.
no idea.
He plays older Stanley.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
We have Joel Polis
Points to Gryffindor.
as Fuchs, the assistant biologist. He is the one that suggests that the team eat out of cans and then prepare their own meals. And probably most likely burns himself alive to avoid becoming the thing, which is, if that is how we went down, pretty boss move.
Yeah, that's right. He has a pretty quiet role too.
We have Donald Moffat as Gary, the station commander, the one that kills the Swede or the Norwegian rather with one shot to the eyeball.
Brings a fucking window too.
I was gonna say with a pistol from a window, just black.
Man, you would not want to fuck with that guy on the shooting range, I tell you.
No.
I love it because isn't it Palmer that gives him shit for it too?
Yeah,
He's like, finally got to use his pea shooter over here.
Yeah. I love that bit right afterwards where they're talking about, like, the doc is talking about, like, going to the Norwegian camp, and they're like, yeah, McCready won't do it, it's too rough out there, and then Palmer's like, hey, I'll take you up there, though, and they're immediately like, no, Palmer, don't even think about it, and he's like, yeah, hey, thanks for thinking about it, though. It's just like, that's his response. I think that is the one, like, legitimately funny bit of dialogue in this movie. We'll talk more about that later, but
I did love that though.
Yeah, actually the second bit, because Gary, the station commander, also has that great line of like, I know you gentlemen have had a long night, but anytime you see fit, I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch.
Tied to this fucking couch!
Great bit.
That is a good bit.
And then we have Thomas Waits as Windows, the radio operator. Apparently, this character had a different name at one point, and the actor just like walked up to John Carpenter with sunglasses on and said, I want everyone to call me Windows, and that stuck. So he's always wearing sunglasses, and they call him Windows.
It wasn't one of those things that they pointed out. It's like, that was one of his things because they had such a tricky time. They were trying to like differentiate through characters because there's no like set introduction. They're like, his name's Windows.
And it's a lot.
He's also always in sunglasses, like consistently.
Yeah.
Like a big thing. Yeah, it's cool.
I like it a lot. It's almost because he has those glasses on so much that it's weird when you actually see his eyes.
Right. You're like, okay, shit's going down.
So that's kind of just a general overlook of our characters. Again, some of these, I had no idea that, like we talked about, Keith David was a chief mechanic or, what
I didn't
position.
know there was a geologist.
A lot of roles out there.
Now, before we jump to our next section, I do want to pose the question, what do you think they're actually studying out there? Any ideas?
Well, obviously they're studying Antarctica.
Duh.
Snow science.
Snow science. I like that answer. A lot.
I would say with a geologist and a meteorologist, they're studying geology.
Yeah, they're probably doing core samples or something is my best guess. Yeah. Trying to go deep on
a biologist, a geologist, and meteorologist would suggest that they're studying the ecology of and the history.
Two
of
mechanics. Yeah. The dog dude's out there for like to fucking
wrangle the dogs.
Keep an eye on his pups.
They got the mechanics to work on a helicopter, and
worst case scenario, they're gonna sled their way out.
That's right.
He's gonna
sled their way back to South
America.
Yeah. I'm sure that's just like. I think about stuff like that. I think about the dogs being out there, and I think about flamethrowers.
So that's one of the first things that I said the last time I watched this movie with Sandy in preparation for this. I was like, who the fuck has a science expedition in Antarctica and is like, "Hey boys, let's bring some fucking flamethrowers." Like that's what
else do
we
we
need.
need? We need a computer that is only used for chess.
Flamethrowers.
A couple
shotguns,
flamethrowers.
A couple flamethrowers.
We need like 2 or 3
shotguns,
flamethrowers.
Dynamite for
So
sure.
The Norwegian
only-
base camp is what, 8 miles away? An extra flamethrower.
Another flamethrower. We might need to kill
We need
those
a
guys.
whole gun case.
A whole gun case. Yeah, what the fuck? Like an armory? Because there's so many people coming after you in Antarctica. You have to be ready to go to war.
Assault rifles.
Maybe
and
we're
shit.
at war with Norway, you know?
But they're giving Palmer shit for carrying around his pea shooter. They got like a fucking armory in one room at the end of the hall.
That's actually one of the funniest things because you would never ship an armory off to Antarctica. There's literally no point. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's okay. It's a movie.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, they
How to defend themselves.
exactly.
Against
Gotta have
the snowmen. That's what we didn't see is before the movie they were attacked by a bunch of abominable snowmen and they blew them all away. That's the prequel we need.
They just recouped. They just restocked the armory,
That's right.
replenished their blood supply.
After the Great War.
The Great War had just ended.
The
The next storm's coming. They were getting ready.
You know,
And then this fucking alien came in, screwed it all up.
I love this. I hope you're taking notes out there, studio execs, because
Hey, I'm available. Call me.
Got more flamethrowers.
well, you know, if they were to bring back home a Yeti in addition to an alien, you know, I feel like that would be something noteworthy and arguably something that would win somebody the Nobel Prize. Here, in this particular category, that's going to win somebody the Nobel Prize, aka the good stuff, aka what we liked about the movie.
Right.
Now we're just going to go person by person, kind of hit what we enjoyed about this flick. I imagine that we're all going to have the same things to say, like this movie's perfect and every scene and everything in it is good. But Brian, why don't you start it off, since you tend to have the most eclectic lists.
Seems rude somehow.
This guy called me eclectic. I don't even know what that means.
No, I know what it means. I just know how he's using it. Is rude.
Probably true.
Hurtful.
Give me a definition.
Dickhole. Mine were all like, because I watched it again today, they're like very chronological.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the very first one was, I don't know why I put CGI, but just like graphics and like the animatronics in general are just like amazing.
Yeah.
I know how much work went into it. It's
Yeah.
so cool to me.
I told Kalen this off mic, but that there's going to be certain things that we address here in the good.
Okay. Yeah.
That we'll jump into in depth later on, because
Right.
I think we can all agree that the special effects are what set this film in a completely different league.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think we'll all agree that yes, that's a good, and we're gonna dive
We'll hit it later.
deeper in that
Love that.
moving forward.
The other one was the intro of the dog hunt, setting it as such an like ominous tone of just
that was like a what the fuck
that intro
opener.
to
it's
me.
such
like,
a what the fuck opener to a movie.
That's what's up, baby?
What's my audio button?
Your what, baby?
Bye, Kalen.
We will be having frequent visits from my son this episode.
What do you mean you
apparently.
couldn't translate that? What's wrong with you? You're my translator.
Right?
One job.
Elevator buttons.
There it is.
Oh, okay.
Alpha that. You didn't know that?
Keep talking about it.
Yeah, no.
Are you done?
Yeah, so like you start a movie off and you're like, okay, scientists in the Antarctic, that's cool, and then all of a sudden there's a wolf being chased by a fucking helicopter.
I'm just trying to get gunned down.
and you're just like, what the hell is this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely like puts you on your toes. You know,
Yeah,
like, whoa.
because like I said, when I watched it when I was a kid, I had absolutely no idea what was going on. I just knew it was terrifying.
Right.
This monster shit freaked me out.
Right.
And I watched it like
For sure.
years later as an adult. Was just like, whoa, this intro is a trip. Like I'm obviously like watching it for the first time again at that point. And I'm just like, holy shit, what the fuck?
I love it though because I feel like it's a great way to give a movie inertia because right from jump we're sitting here like, okay, what the hell are these people doing?
You're already questioning.
Right,
it
we have a bunch of
everyone.
dead Norwegians, we have a
Yeah.
random dog, what's going on? And it just gives it so much forward momentum right
People
from
are getting
jump.
shot. This guy's he's speaking Norwegian.
Right.
Like there's zero translation. He just gets
Just gets
gunned
blasted.
down.
Yeah. You're just like, alright, so this
immediately.
guy's been shot, and
Yeah.
what the hell's going on? We were talking about how like that opening gives the movie so much forward momentum. Like
Yes.
right from jump, you're just going, and you're like, okay, here we go.
I think my
Yeah,
first
we
thing is
jump right
we
in.
jump right in.
Yep.
There's no,
No time
like
wasted.
what
There's
we
no
talk about.
trust and all.
There's no introduction to characters. No, we just go,
Yeah, no one
and
has
you
a name.
immediately you just see this dog running in the snow.
Mhm.
And if you just saw the dog running in the snow, it'd be like, all right, there's this dog, cool.
Like a husky got loose.
But-
What happened?
The bum
Yeah.
bum
That
bum
baseline.
bum, that like almost like off heartbeat thing. You're like,
Yes.
this isn't good.
So
Yeah,
unsettling.
something bad's about to happen.
So unsettling.
Yeah, I love that. It's such just like rip the Band-Aid off almost thing. Because
Yeah.
you do see the spaceship go and crash
Yeah.
on Earth. You see that, and that's your
That's true.
That's your
That's
little
your
bead.
cue.
That's
like,
what's happening, and then
something's going on here.
set,
Yeah.
and then from there you're kind of left to figure out. But
Yeah.
I almost wish that wasn't in there. Like, I wonder how the
It
movie would
doesn't-
play if
I
they didn't have the
almost-
spaceship in there. Yeah.
I've seen this movie so many times, and I almost always forget
yeah,
that
we
that
actually
right?
see
starts
the ship. Yeah.
That
starts
was me
out that
this,
way.
today, this
Yeah.
morning when I fired it up. I'm like, oh, that's right. It starts with this janky little spaceship just teetering around.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, we're immediately introduced to this kooky fucking cast of characters.
Yeah.
You got a guy leaving his shades on, a dude roller skating around. You got a, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you got a dude with a
100%.
denim cut on who's smoking a blunt, and you're like, okay, you know, like this is, and
Dude's just walking around like upending a bottle of scotch.
right,
Like,
you know what I mean? So it's like the movie just gets you started so fast, and you're so in the movie and the tone and all the things that are happening right away.
It is a very like adult film in the sense that
Yes.
it's you hit the ground running and it's up to you as an audience member
Yeah.
to catch up.
Yep.
It's they
Definitely.
leave it up to you to
Definitely.
go, okay, now that's Bennings,
Mm-hmm.
that's Palmer. I don't know the
Yeah.
guy with the dog's name, but
Yeah,
he's
you
dog
gotta, like,
guy.
you
He's a
gotta,
dog
like,
dude.
do homework almost.
Yeah,
like, taking
yeah,
notes
like-
mentally.
Does a picture like this get made today in the same way?
No,
No way.
No. there would be.
No one will do it like that.
First of all, they don't even like to give these movies, like they don't like to do mid-budget creature feature horror movies very much these days at all. But also if they did, I feel like it would be very heavily editorialized, and they would definitely have been like, hey, you're going to need to hold the audience's hand a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, things are going to need to be a little bit more straightforward.
Especially these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone needs like immediate gratification and
Yeah.
like quick cutting. Like no one wants to think through anything. And
Yeah.
this movie is like jumps out the gate of like you can't trust or nor do you know anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it
you-
sets the entire
you-
tone immediately.
You, as the audience member, are lost to start the movie.
Yeah.
And that's part of the deal, right? Is that
Yeah.
you're lost and you're trying to figure it out and they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
We're all trying to figure it out. We're all very tired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's part of the
Yeah.
movie. And I love that. And I do think that like some studios still make interesting horror movies for sure, but getting this kind of mid-budget creature feature with this level of sort of autonomy, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would be, you probably wouldn't see it made like this today.
Well, again, like I said, we're 2 for 2, boys. On the like this week. That's a good thing. Kalen, why don't you hit me with one of your goods?
So one of the things I love about this movie is like, I feel like it's got some of the best practical VFX, obviously, of any movie ever, and some of the coolest horror scenes. But like, there's like subtle things ahead of that where you sort of get an inclination as to what you're getting into. So when they go to the other outpost and you find the other people dead, the practical effects there, which I feel like no one ever talks about in this movie, are so fucking good that I feel like even if you didn't know exactly how far off the deep end you were going to go, you know that something very cool is coming. Yeah. And I love that.
I don't think I could agree more without showing my hand too much. I love scenes like that in movies where you as an audience member are left to once again this is you having to partake in
you're
this
in
film.
Exactly.
You're in it.
You are left up to your own designs to figure out what happened at that camp.
Yeah.
Right.
And it is fucking atrocious. I think it is very foreboding because you see that just the bit where they're looking at the man whose blood is literally frozen, dripping out of him.
I love it so much.
The straight razor in his hand,
The like
into
ice,
his hand.
the blood icicles, dude. I love it so much. So good.
And the doc has that great line of just it's a line that's been delivered in so many other movies, but his conviction when he delivers it sells it, which is, what the hell happened here?
Yeah.
And you know that ties directly back into the end of this film.
Yeah.
Because whatever happened there is about ready to happen at your camp.
Yeah.
You just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
And I love that. Anything if a horror movie can do a good foreboding scene, like that's probably the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
And that scene is perfection in that regard.
Right, with that
It
ice block
really
in there
is.
and everything.
You know you're getting
out.
into some shit.
Yes.
Like you know
that's
it.
empty,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. All right, I got one here that's
Yeah.
really gonna totally turn some heads and be a hot take, but Kurt Russell is a fucking force to be reckoned with in this movie. I don't need to really dive into it any more than that because we're going to talk about McCready as a character later on.
Cool.
But just right out the gate, top 5 Kurt Russell performances. The 5th is dealer's choice. The other 4 are you can't deny that they're the best. Obviously, we have The Thing, we have Backdraft, we have Escape from LA, and
you mean Escape from New York?
That's what I meant. Escape from New York. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I was so afraid. I was like, just whatever you do, don't say Escape from LA. Don't say Escape from LA. And there I went and did it.
Sound like an asshole.
And oh god, I had it. I'm now.
Have you seen those movies?
It's been being put on the spot, and it's killing me. I almost jotted them down. I was like, no, I'll fucking remember. I'm like, why wouldn't I remember them? Oh god, of course it's right there. Fucking Escape from LA. No, I was gonna say if you say that you lose.
Oh, is that number 5? Dealer's choice.
That can be dealer's choice. Fuck. Here we go. I'm losing my shit here. Tombstone. Duh.
Tombstone.
Come
on. Yeah. Okay. I feel bad.
That was like.
I'm sitting here thinking John Carpenter and shit. You know what I mean? I'm like Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, that was my thing. Like when I made that's why I didn't write it down because the second thing that came to mind when I thought the list earlier, I was like, Tombstone. Duh. But yeah, dealer's choice for the 5th one. I would argue that you could say Big Trouble, Little China, Bone Tomahawk, but I'm gonna go with Herb Brooks from Miracle because I just
fuck!
And he's really good.
I forgot about that one. God damn, that's good. Yeah, I love that. That's probably above Guardians of the Galaxy too.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I've seen Miracle.
Oh, man.
Hey, I fucking love Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That's a great movie.
Thank you.
That is a fantastic film.
But is it top 5 Kurt Russell performances?
Not at all.
Yeah,
Hey, it was dealer's choice.
Yeah, but you're just doing that to be a prick.
No, it's not top 5. Not at all. But good.
Alright.
Which one is Miracle?
Miracle's the one about the U.S. hockey team beating the Russians.
Oh, got it. Okay, yeah. I'm like, I know I've seen that.
He's a head coach.
Yep.
God.
Based on the true story,
Fuck
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Amazing movie, especially with him in it.
Definitely in my top 5
Again.
favorite sports films.
I think Tombstone's probably my second favorite.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell performance. That movie is fucking.
Wyatt Earp, baby.
Yeah, dude, that is
Ah.
fucking amazing.
I think
It's
that's
a classic.
I think that's third for me because Snake Plissken is so. I don't think anybody realizes how many action heroes are
modeled
based
after
off
Snake
of
Plissken.
Snake Plissken.
That's true.
Like he is so much the OG
In everything too, in
Yes.
film and television and video games.
He is like the OG, like badass of all badasses. Like you could look at probably the best, most recent example is Daniel Craig's version of James Bond. This guy who puts up this front of being a really hardcore badass and has done a lot of these things, but a lot of times when push comes to shove, he shows his humanity in these moments of like, dude, I just want to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, and like is still like scared, but is still like doing the job, and he's a badass. Man, Snake Plissken is just mwah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But anyways, I digress. Kurt Russell.
Badass, man. Force of nature in this.
Badass.
Somebody once asked me, they're like, if you could only watch one actor's movies for the rest of your life,
Oh, damn.
who would it be? And I scratched my head for a while because I'm like, no matter what I do, I'm losing some of my favorite movies.
Of course.
But I settled on Kurt Russell because I was like, dude,
Damn,
that man
that's a good
has
choice,
more
though.
hits than misses. I tell
Yeah,
you.
that's huge.
Uh-huh.
It is a big catalog.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Overboard, fucking fantastic. I'm just gonna say it. Brian, go for it, buddy.
I know we already talked about the music. I'm gonna jump that one because I feel like we'll hit it again no matter what. I put the overarching like normalization that being out in the Antarctic will eventually make you break or lose it. Like they compare it to the Norwegians, they compare it to themselves. It's just like a common topic in the beginning of just like, oh no, he's already too far gone, or oh no, it'll break you. Oh, 8 weeks into this, I was already fucking screwed.
Yeah.
And it's just like this common arc in the beginning of just like being out here will make you fucking crazy, and they've all just like throw it in conversation like it's like getting drunk.
Yeah.
And it tripped me out in the beginning. I was just like, damn, that is such just off the cuff conversation.
Well,
it's just like the more we talk about it, the less will probably happen, right?
It's interesting because you have this group of characters that you would think that by the choice of this job, you'd think naturally they like isolation. But then you're isolating yourself with like a group of other
11
people that you have to be with in very close proximity on a regular basis.
Hard
So,
personalities,
Dude, that
right?
would be hard to do with people you like.
yes.
It'd be terrible with
Yes.
strangers.
Yes.
Yeah.
God is not a big building.
Yeah.
No.
And like not everyone has his little shack up on the hill
Uh-uh.
to go fucking cruise out to and get drunk and be by yourself legitimately.
But then it also lends itself to something deeper that I feel like you have to think about because it's not there on the surface of the film, which is these guys are buddies. These guys are friends. They are literally like facing life and death on a daily basis in this environment.
Right.
You know, maybe not in the intensity that they do throughout the rest of the film,
It's
but
not being attacked by alien monsters. But
but
it's still pretty rough.
these guys have learned to coexist, which means that they probably all get along fairly well, which means that they like each other fairly well, which means that when they turn on each other, that's
Heavy decision.
guys like that like they say
Gary
like,
points one out.
Gary says that Bennings is my friend. I've known him for 10 years.
Yeah.
Brian,
Yeah.
that's like you and me levels of like friendship being like, yeah, no, fuck this guy.
And
like
you're trying to tell someone who just torched him out in the snow.
Like, what did you do to my friend?
Like that wasn't him. Like,
yeah.
it was 20 minutes ago. What the fuck?
Yeah. So that
and now he's gone.
it's not
Snow
really
cloud.
talked about that much when discussing this film, like the relationships that these guys have to be able to withstand, you know, the crazy element that overtakes you, and just know that you have your buddies, your partners to kind of keep you sane.
Well, and that's why I actually think this movie is more dark and brutal than it gets credit for.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because what's happening in this situation with these people is amongst friends, and also like these aren't bad people.
No.
None of these people deserve any of this. There's no real bad guys here. It's just a bunch of dudes.
There.
Yeah.
Like,
and so the things that are happening to them are like, it's pretty fucking crazy. Like, David, I'm sorry. What's the dog guy's name? Clark, dude. Yeah, okay. Like, dude, when he shoots Clark, and, you know, he's like, then they find out that Clark wasn't the thing.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, dude, you just fucking murdered Clark.
Childs calls him a murderer.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
He's like, that makes you a murderer.
Even though he's sitting there probably trying to tell himself, well, he was attacking me, so
I was gonna say, that's self-defense.
I'm trying to
I
go
got a knife.
But would you feel okay about it?
No, not even a little.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, it was self-defense. It wasn't murder. That's true, because he was attacking him.
Yeah.
But still, you just shot a guy that you were at least friends with.
Yeah.
You
Even
know
though
what
I would argue that Clark and McCready are probably the most distant on the ends of the spectrum of that group. Like, I feel like, you know, they are the guys that
socially,
sup in passing. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
he pulled a knife on me.
but yeah, still like
I'm gonna feel bad about killing somebody.
yeah,
Right.
that's
Right. I mean, it's yeah, dude. And like,
But damn.
the dude who I'm sorry that I don't
you're
have
good.
all the names,
no,
guys.
it's
But like when he has to burn the one guy alive in the room after he gets attacked.
Windows.
Yeah, and he like doesn't die right away, and
Yeah.
like he's got to burn him alive. That's
Torches both of them.
dark.
yeah.
That's dark, man. Like you're killing people that you're friends with, and it's not happening nice. Like
And it's just like in split seconds because they were
Yeah.
all he had a bundle of dynamite in his hand and a
Yeah.
flamethrower in the other because they had already turned on him.
Oh my
then they
God.
all run right past him
Yeah.
and he puts it down, below torches that guy.
Yeah.
And the next one, Windows. It's just like, oh
and
my
that's what I'm
God.
saying. It's like it's so dark. Like,
Yeah.
it's a dark fucking movie.
The mental warfare
Mhm.
going on between that group is just fucked.
Like I think it's like everyone knows it's a dark and brutal movie, but I think it's low key like how gnarly it really is if you let yourself think about the characters. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
It's very dehumanizing until you like think with it for a little bit.
And then you're just like, oh shit, that's fucked up. Like,
Yeah, you bring up like Gary talking about how he knew him for 10 years. And
right. And you're
God
like,
knows how
oh
long they've
damn.
been there together. Like, yeah, fuck. It's a trip. What was another one of yours?
Yeah, and that banging scene is so fucking cool with the way the music
Ooh,
is.
and the hands.
Just
Just
that-
hadn't fully assimilated yet. And he went out the window and it's just like running. You can't see him yet until they get to him.
It just doesn't say anything. It's just like, yeah, dude. It's
Those noises are what fucking terrified me as a
Yeah.
child. The like open mouth, like, and I had subtitles on, and it was calling it howling, and I was just like, oh, what the fuck? I'm like, God, but it's exactly what it is. Like, it's so like unearthly, like fucking.
Great
freaks
sound
me
design in
out.
this film.
It's
Great sound
amazing.
design.
amazing.
Because it's
Amazing
across the
sound
board.
design.
Like every time that thing makes a noise, it's not exactly the same each time, but it's in that ballpark of just like that howling, like disturbing, like
Yeah.
And you can tell a lot of thought and care was put into that too, for
Yeah.
sure. There's so much craft on hand in this movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like from the set design to the VFX to the sound design to the performances. It's a movie made with an incredible degree of
yeah.
care and craft.
And I could have put like multiple scenes just listed in my likes.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the bendings one was definitely one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so another thing I had here was just the like I had mentioned the scene where the doctor where how long were you alone with that dog?
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it's probably nothing, and that like foreboding and that furthers that foreshadowing we were talking about earlier. Or later on when when he's saying we're all very tired, he keeps erasing what he had said before. We're all very tired, and like that exhaustion and the paranoia and the claustrophobia that you feel in this movie is like it's so palpable. Like the atmosphere it can be cut with a knife.
That's one of like the few times they touch on the time frame too. When he's doing his recordings,
Yeah.
because he's like the storm's been hitting us hard for 48 hours.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so we're at 2 days at least
Yes.
since a day ago. Like all right, because we talked about it right before you got here. I'm like, how long do you think they were like in this?
Right.
This story happens inside of a week. It's not
Right.
much longer than that.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you think about the timeline that Blair looks at, he says that computer says something that is like, gosh, what was it? 1,000.
27,000 hours.
Is that what it was?
Before it would take over
was
the
it
entire
27,000
civilization.
hours total?
Yeah.
For the entire global civilization.
So I did the math on that. Comes out to that's just under 4 years. It was like 3.89 years in that timeline before the entire
He's
world.
running the simulations. That's right.
So you think about it, like this entire camp being taken over in a matter of days is that's
among
100%.
12 guys, right?
Yeah, 100%. Just
there's no way.
Yeah.
That's
So
why it's
this-
like it
this-
breaks the civilization.
This
It's
is a very, very quick timeline that we're dealing with here. Yeah, I mean, what you said, Bri, like we could do a play-by-play, scene-by-scene, frame-by-frame.
Do the whole movie.
Oh God, that's perfect. Oh God, that's perfect. That's why I had to be very general, and like my good notes are just very general, basic stuff because
That's good.
I didn't have to elaborate because I knew that this conversation it was going to happen organically. You know, I don't specifically have anything set aside for in my notes later on about the score, but it's a perfect
Very
score.
simple.
It's I know that
It's effective.
Yep.
Ennio Morricone, if I am pronouncing that correct, who had done a lot of spaghetti westerns and whatnot, and you know, Quentin Tarantino would use a lot of his Ennio Morricone. There we go. I just want to make sure I got it pronounced correct. Phenomenal composer who left us a couple of years ago, actually. Now, but this is one of the first times that John Carpenter did not outright do his own score and source outwards.
Wow.
I never knew that.
And so what happened is that Morricone does the score and it's not quite what Carpenter wants. He wants something a little bit more minimal. And so there ends up being a blend of the powers that be. He gets full credit, but John Carpenter and his partner Alan Hallworth, who worked with him on some of the Halloween scores, come in and do touch-ups. So a lot of the stuff that does not get used in this film pops up in Quentin Tarantino's Hateful Eight, which he says is an homage to The Thing.
Yeah.
And
That's
quite famously stars Kurt Russell.
Right.
So kind of a beautiful
Yeah.
kind of like little touchstone there.
That's
But
cool.
I would not say the score is underrated, but it's not a score that I'd say most people think about when they think about top 10 horror movie scores.
Because
you know?
I don't,
Exactly.
because like in a lot of movies, this is just me throwing out my opinion here, obviously, but like I feel like in a lot of horror movies, the score stands out.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in this way, the score is really only there to support this story because it's such an engrossing story, and that's why I said I feel like the score is effective. Like,
Right.
Halloween, I could throw on a vinyl and just listen to Halloween, right? Like, this is something that I want to listen to while I'm watching this movie.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's like, go ahead.
I would just say it is a film score that like I would encourage you to throw on. It's on Spotify.
Okay.
I encourage you to just throw on and listen to it and see how it makes you feel.
Oh God, yeah.
By itself, because this is a film score, and this is what I think about to myself a lot of the times when I'm editing videos and stuff like that. If I'll do like sound effects, and sometimes this works for music that I pick for longer form videos like mine in your videos, Brian. But if I do like just like a sound effect for like a cut or something like that, there's like I have like a little punching sound effect that I use that for a lot of my reviews, and a lot of times what I tell myself is that like, oh, you can hear it, that's good, and then like it's like, and I'll go back and rewatch it, and I'm like, yeah, you hear it. I don't want you to hear it. I want you to feel it.
Yeah.
And that's what this musical score is.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
not intrusive.
Yeah.
It's something that you don't really notice at first until you're like, why do I feel like my heart is thumping a little bit faster? Like, what is that unnerving sensation? And then you realize the synth is like building up in your mind, and you're like, oh man, that makes everything that much more creepy because you don't hear it at first, you feel it. And I think that's a really, really creative approach to this particular style of composing.
Well, and in that way, it serves the story so well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It just makes the movie that much better.
Yeah.
Because it's exactly the way you describe it. It's subtle.
Yeah.
Subtle and effective.
It like, you know, not to be too cheeky about it, but it does kind of overtake you, like in the way that the alien does its victims. So,
Hey.
so there it is.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's like piercing at times, and then it's just that subtle bass line at times. Like, man, it gets you. It pulls you in hard.
I love it. What else you got for me, boys? Anything?
That was it for mine, for the most part, without like nitpicking in every single scene.
Right. I mean, are we should we say anything about like the spider head scene, or like
we'll talk about that later on. We
Yeah.
will. I want to just give one big shout out because again, I don't have another section for this, but Dean Cundy as cinematographer, famously, got started with John Carpenter doing Halloween, came back to do Halloween 2, did Halloween 3. You can see how all those movies look.
Yeah.
You do the thing. Dean Cundy is also a cinematographer for a film that we were talking about before off mic, Jurassic Park. So,
jeez.
Man's got some heavy hitters.
What an amateur,
and
huh?
there's just...
Get your shit together, bro.
Yeah, come on.
Casual portfolio there. Fuck me.
Just this is one of those movies where I just look at shots and I go, I feel like I've seen this on the internet a million times, and it's not even a big scene, it's not even a big shot, it's just the group of guys standing in McCready talking, and you're just like, it looks like a fucking portrait.
Yeah.
It's so well shot. And it's again kind of like one of those things that you were talking about before, where it's like almost like they're showing off. Like it's just like I'm not, like, you can tell, like it's like this is just standard stuff. I'm not even trying, and the flick just looks so crisp, so clean. Is just God.
I feel like you brought this up to me before, and it was probably another one of his productions where you were like, it's one of those movies where you can literally just press the pause button at any given time and be like, that's just a screensaver on its own.
Yes.
Or like a still shot that they could use for promotional material for this movie.
Yes.
Because every scene is just beautiful.
Looks that
like,
good.
Just looks so good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's staged so well.
Case in point, there are multiple scenes that take place in this film where they're just showing empty hallways.
Yeah.
Right. I know.
Took the words out of my mouth. I was just gonna say, I'm like, there's shots straight down the main hallway that just look cool.
Yeah.
Like,
It just
I'm
looks
like,
cool.
damn, that's a good looking scene. But
Just
it's
looks
just
cool.
the angle, the composition and everything just looks so good.
Yeah.
Like, it's some boring ass fucking hallway.
Yep.
I love it.
It's so weird to think about too, because like when they were making this movie back in, we're shooting it in '81.
Yeah.
This was not like, no one thought of this as like a bunch of heavy hitters making an important movie.
Right.
This was just like some guys were making a slightly higher budgeted B movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And like that's how people
Kurt
thought of
Russell's
it.
your big name, right? Obviously. And what's the other guy who this was like his breakout role?
Keith David.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't a name
No,
at
and
the
I mean
time.
he
Yeah.
would go on to be, I would say, I would say a B+
Mm-hmm.
level.
Doesn't he
actor,
voice the
like-
president in Rick and Morty?
Yes, he does.
I mean, he's
He does.
still doing low budget horror movies.
He does.
Yeah.
He is
Good for
been consistently working since this movie.
Oh, I'm
so,
sure.
like the man,
Yeah.
I'm sure
Man
wants
named
for
for
nothing, and
Yeah.
it does very, very good in damn near everything I've ever seen him in. Like I don't think he ever turns in a bad performance. So
No, he's a pro. He's a pro.
but yeah, if you look at it, yes, this at the time. This is, I would argue, like,
Ragtag group.
Kurt Russell had been in pictures since he was a kid.
Right.
Sure.
This
true.
is not, like, this is not something that makes him a big name, you know?
No,
Right.
no, it's a star-making performance.
This
Yeah.
is a movie.
But, you know, one thing I forgot to mention with Kurt Russell, and you guys really just want to have, like, the fucking wind taken out of your sails. Do you know how old he was when he made this movie?
Oh, this is
No.
gonna hurt.
Guess what, boys? He's younger than all of us.
Oh my god.
26.
He was 30 years old when he made this movie.
Fuck you, Kurt Russell.
How do you
You
ever
fuck
look at
bitch.
that man and think, yeah, that is not the most confident, self-assured man who's clearly like a solid, mature, handsome 40 years old right there, right?
Right, yes, for sure.
Like
That's
confident,
what
like
30.
30. And like I think about myself at 30.
Full fucking
yes.
beard.
Took him a year to grow
long
that. Took
fucking
him a year
hair.
to grow all that, yeah.
Long, big fucking hair.
Have you ever, at any stage in your life, ever been that like just confident?
Where's the scotch?
Probably at 30, yeah.
Yeah, probably for a
That was
split second.
that was
at
the
30.
year, yeah, for like 10 minutes at age 30.
I was watching it. I was watching it last night. I was like, man, he looks like mature, not in like an age sort of way, but just like his confidence. Like I'm like, how old is he? Because he has 0 fucking wrinkles. So that's the
Oh,
thing
no.
that
That's
stuck
a tell.
out.
Yeah.
And I was like,
He
I was
does look younger. But
Yeah,
it's hard because he's got this giant fucking
if you get
beard.
past the beard, like
Well,
if you
and
just
you
look at
think
his
of-
skin, I was just like,
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah,
old
he
is
looks
this guy?
young,
He
yeah.
can't.
Yeah,
he
there's
can't
no way.
be.
Well,
yeah.
you also like you think of like I don't know. I think of Kurt Russell as being old, like no
Yeah.
matter what age he is. But
Mhm.
there's also like, and this is like a weird phenomenon that's been discussed before. But like people used to age a little bit differently because you can look at pictures of people from,
Oh, yeah.
1960, and like this guy's 26 years old, and
Or
you're like, you
dads,
mean
you
42,
know?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
Like,
exactly.
that generation and everything, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
they were all like just like burly fucking dudes.
burly manly men.
My
Oh,
dad's not
yeah,
like a big
just like-
tall guy, but he was still like had a fucking beard and shit like that. And when he was like 26, he looked like fucking Kurt Russell. I was like, what the
Right.
fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that was like the norm though.
yeah.
And it's
Funny.
also like it's also one of those weird things that like if you see a movie, like particularly if you're a younger person and you see a person X amount of years and you're like a kid, you're like, oh, that person's, you know, that age.
Yep, 100%.
You know, and then when you get past that age, you're like, no, that person's still older than
Yeah,
me.
you're
Like,
older
they're
than
in that movie. you know?
Stamped in time forever.
Uh-huh.
That's right.
It is one of his like more interesting like younger looking roles,
Mhm.
hands down.
Yeah.
Because like in all of his other roles, he just looks like he's 55 or 60 forever.
It's just-
I mean, like
And
in
owns it.
like I think he like to me he looks younger in Backdraft. Albeit he has no beard. He has his like
That's
certain
true,
cut. But I mean
right.
that's like 10 years on, so
Yep.
he's like in his
Yep.
40s, and he looks 40 there, but he also looks 40
He
here.
looks 40
Yes.
there.
Yeah, mind-boggling.
That's crazy though.
I'll
love
wrap
that.
up. I'll wrap up the good stuff with just we'll talk more about it moving forward. But that ending, I know I said when I first saw it, I didn't like it, but God, is there a more perfect ending to a horror movie?
Damn, right? I told Kelsey about it today. Because I asked her, she was like, what are you watching in there? I was working. I was like, ever watch this? Obviously no. Do you know the premise of it? So I walked her through it. And then at the end, I was like, all right. And I just walked out of the office. I was like, fuck, I love that movie. And she was just like, all right, how does it end? Because now I need to know. Because I'm never going to watch it. I'm like, obviously. So
I'm
I
not gonna watch it, bro.
walked her through the last 20 minutes. She was like, that's it? I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, that's horrible. And I'm like, no, it's amazing. I'm like, but kind of horrible, but it's amazing. I was like, pisses me off every time, but I love it.
The more I watch it, the more I become convinced of what I've thought about that ending for a long time. We'll talk about that moving forward.
We'll
Yes,
talk about
please,
that later.
because I have some things too.
But for now, I just can't believe any of this voodoo bullshit. This is the part of the show where we talk about the shit, aka the shit we didn't like about the movie. And boys, surprise, surprise, I've got nothing.
Oh!
So take it away. Anything you don't like about this movie, please tell me.
I have 3.
Go ahead.
But, all right, I'll start with
I want
one.
to hear yours, yeah.
Oh, I mean, my first one's like pretty basic. I just hate
It's
it.
like, it's snowing.
Yeah.
Fuck the
Fuck
snow.
Antarctica. Hate it. I don't like dogs.
There's a mess on the floor.
There's a mess on the floor?
Yeah.
Go get your mom.
That a boy. He knows how to ask for what he needs. I like that.
No,
You're doing a
you
good
said
job,
he's
Jony.
got it. You're fine.
He's gonna come back in 5 minutes. It's like, I just want to know these things. Keep talking, but I want to
You're
know
good.
about them.
No, my only one, which is very basic, was the howling noises and how many nightmares I got from that
There you go.
movie as a child.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
fair.
the visuals alone probably fucked me up as a child, but
Sure.
dude, to this day, when I watch scary movies, it's like, the sounds,
Mhm.
the fucking music that like sticks with you pretty deeply, like
Sure.
more than I thought it used to.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and watching it again today, I was just like, fuck, I forgot about some of these scenes. Like, they're like deep down in there of like Bennings with this little fucking
I
tentacles
mean,
doing
yeah,
that
that scene
open
is
gaze
so
and
awesome.
just that howl that comes out. Just like, ugh, dude, it's traumatizing.
That was the scene actually when I rewatched this. I rewatched this with my girlfriend. I think she had only seen it like once before.
Okay.
With me, but like 5 years ago.
Right.
And that was the scene where when that scene happened, right as that ended, she was like, just very quietly, she was just like, "This movie's so fucking cool." Like, you know what I mean? Like
I love that.
it's so badass.
What did I miss?
Suspense
was killing
Mine was very like basic. It was like how much the howling noises and the like sounds that the aliens make stuck with me and gave me nightmares as a child, and re-seeing them today was like
PTSD.
I forgot how creepy they made those. And then he was talking, we were comparing it to like Benning's scene with like his tentacles and shit. He was like, when we got to that scene, my girlfriend was like, dude, this movie is amazing.
That was the moment where she said, like, under her breath, right when that scene ended, she went, "Dude, this movie's so fucking cool." Like, and I'm like, yeah, I know, like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, it's a fucking badass movie.
And like I told you earlier, like off mic and everything, I was like, I have like dislikes because I like them now.
Mhm.
Like it traumatized me as a child hearing those sounds, and now I'm just like, because it's so awesome, it makes the movie what it is.
Yeah.
It makes it that creature. Had that been, they could have done 100 different sounds, I'd probably still love it. But that is fucking killer.
But they nailed it, yeah.
Yes.
I remember that being one of the things that I thought about after
Man.
my first viewing with it too, like just like kind of laying in bed, just thinking it's one of those movies that like just like disturbed me.
Yep.
Like I don't want to just use
yeah.
gross out, but like it just disturbed
It gets to
me
you.
when I thought about it, and that was I would always think about that scene with Bennings.
Yep.
His hands, like his dead eyes, and
Yes.
the sound coming out of his mouth. It's a really good like jolt for like your brain,
Yeah.
but it's also like fucking peanuts compared to what is to come.
Right.
You know?
I think like the kicker for me was that like they had just talked about like it needs time to like finish assimilating to what it's doing.
Yeah.
And then like and right after is when this happens.
And then we kicked to that
And
scene.
obviously like the other scenes are like so much more intense, and it's like creating this huge monster, and that one it's like almost there and they caught it in between.
Yeah.
And it's just like, fuck, like couldn't get it all the way done. And you like see it in this like almost there vulnerable state where it's not like this full blown like over the top gory monster. It's like still kind of him. That's what always stuck with me.
I read that during editing, like the editor was talking with John Carpenter and saying that like he's like, we watching it's confusing how the assimilation works. Like, what's the process, basically? Right. Yeah. So they added 2 scenes for that. Ooh. One of them was the benning scene. Yep. So you could see that it does take time. Yep. And that it's not like a perfect thing, you know, right out the gate. And then the other one was Kurt Russell's speech about how he knows he's human. And kind of how he talks about, like, if you were all these things, you just attack me. Yeah. But it's vulnerable out in the open. So it wants to hide inside of an imitation. That's why it's not just attacking people left and right.
Right.
So,
and it, like, I told Kelsey, I was trying to explain to her, like, the tied up scene and how, like, no one knew it was Palmer, and how it was like he like fully assimilated into it, and it was like hiding in him basically, to the fact where like he was still like talking, like kind of doing his thing, going through the motions. Like it had gotten that far along. Like, ugh, such a trip.
Any other bads, or is that mostly it?
I had another one about Blair building the spaceship underneath the shack,
and we kind of talked about that.
That threw me for a loop. Yeah,
because you thought that he did it really quick in the amount of time.
Yeah, the fact that there was like a full tunnel and like that, like he had his tool bench like set up down there, and it was like almost like an 80% complete spaceship downstairs. I'm like, what the fuck?
And my argument was, this is again something that you kind of have to let your brain justify it, but you know, I told you that if this creature has come into contact with other alien species, it probably just is morphing, changing, using tentacles to do this, and it's probably dug that tunnel really fucking quick, actually, and it's just like constantly
this isn't like a grabbing. Doing this.
This is not him in his Blair state, just slowly putting this together. This is the creature just boom, 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 boom. At least that would be my interpretation of that. That's what I thought about when I watched it today. I was like, how is this guy putting this ship together? And that's kind of what I imagined it looked like.
I have to say that, like, if I were looking for a weakness in the movie, it kind of all revolves around that spaceship. Yeah. Like the spaceship in the beginning and the spaceship there. Yeah. I would say that, like, those are weaker than the other parts of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, you don't need them.
You don't need them. You don't need them.
It's
it doesn't ruin the movie for me. It doesn't change how I feel about the movie, but like, of course, I don't think those scenes work as well as the rest of the movie. Yeah. And I think you could potentially cut them and have the same movie. It doesn't need them at all. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the idea that it helps them come to the conclusion that it's trying to escape and that they need to take drastic measures.
Yeah,
now.
That's true. It is used for story progression.
And they do, like, that's a good segue to it, I guess. Like, it could have, easily just been a tunnel back to outside.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it would have been harder for them to pitch that. But it was it tied right into it. My last one was that they decided to basically nuke the entire compound before they got to the generator. And McCready's like, hey, can we fix it? And he was like, no, it's gone. Yeah. And he was like, well, can we fix it? He's like, no, it's not here. And I'm like, but your plan was to fix it? Yeah. You've already blown up half the Like, why'd you go there first if your idea was to maybe fix it? And it's like, I
think there's an explanation for that, potentially. That was the thing you didn't want to get into yet about the ending.
Yeah. We can dive into that too.
Circle back, whatever.
But
I had one more though. Yeah. One more and this isn't really a negative. This is more like, Kalen, you're a nerd. Shut up.
Yeah.
There was definitely not an AI that was sufficiently advanced to do those calculations in 1982.
Oh, right.
Period. There was not. That did not exist. The program where he's punching that in and getting those statistics based on these wild variables.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Chess Wizard there for a minute. No, bro. Kalen, you're a nerd. Shut up.
Kalen, no one likes... No, listen. No. When he's calculating how long it would take to take over the world... That's nonsense. There was nothing like that in 82. Nobody had that.
At least not in that size of a computer. I'm sure there's a big ass one in somewhere in like Hartford where they have to like.
But you would have to account for a million variables to come up with an equation for something like to model what it would take for an alien to take over Earth. Yeah. There's a million things you'd have to punch in there. The idea that this guy just sitting at a computer could be like, how long till the alien takes the world, and it could just go this long. Yeah. Total fucking
Ran
nonsense.
the two
That
cell
said,
thing. Like I was like,
that said, we're watching a science fiction movie.
Yeah, this is one of those things where my suspension of disbelief is fine with that.
Totally
I'm like,
agree.
you know, it's like, all right, cool. There's a shape-shifting alien.
Yep.
Right, exactly. There's
Everything is on the
shape-shifting
list.
monster,
All right,
yeah.
cool. You're
We're along for the
you're
ride.
a helicopter pilot wears a fucking sombrero in the middle of the Antarctic.
They have a cache of guns at a science
dude, the Yosemite Sam
base.
hat
Yeah.
kills me. It was in my likes, but I knew we'd touch on it later. But like, just his style alone.
Yeah.
Apparently, this is just on the
Unparalleled.
commentary. This is just on the commentary we were watching. Like, Kurt Russell was like, "Yeah, the hat was already a set deal before I was even on set," and and John Carpenter was like, "Yeah, I really like that hat." And Kurt Russell's like, "Yeah, I really like it too." He's like, "Oh, I'm glad to hear you liked it."
Oh my god!
They're like, we
Fucking
haven't
dude
talked about this in 40
jerking
years.
each other off on a fucking hat. Jesus Christ!
I guess that about rounds out the shit, aka voodoo bullshit. But I think that maybe we need to get a little bit more even-tempered. So in this category, I just want to talk about McCready.
Here we go.
Because I do believe him as a character deserves his own category. What are your thoughts about him as just, for all intents and purposes, he is our protagonist in this film, and he is somebody who does not want to be the protagonist of this film. Kind of just wants to be left alone and keeps on getting essentially the hammer passed to him by everyone else.
I feel like everyone's just fucking making shit decisions.
Yes.
And he's just like some drunk flyboy who's just like, fuck, okay, I'll do it. But I'm gonna take a swig of scotch first and you're gonna fucking listen to me or I'm gonna shoot you.
Yeah.
Because you guys are being fucking idiots.
Yeah. Pretty much, dude.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's how I felt about it today watching
No,
it. I was
totally
like,
agree, yeah.
he doesn't want to be in charge. He
Yeah.
just keeps getting like you said, like people are just like forcing his hand.
Yeah.
And at the point, he basically is just like, all right, if I don't fucking take charge, I'm gonna die.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
It really just comes down to
Right.
self-preservation. He's
Yeah.
just like, well, I don't feel like getting murdered by my friends or by an alien monster,
Yeah.
so I guess I'll be a man of action.
He
today.
states it in the beginning, like when they're like, hey, can we fly to fucking the other camp? He's just like, dude, I'm just a fucking pilot. Like, come on, man. Like, I want to fucking
And I love that bit because it speaks to just, I don't know, you have a group of scientists and goddamn, so many of them are just so have their heads up their ass.
Yeah.
Because the doctor wants to go up.
Right.
Everyone's already saying that that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Palmer's like, fuck it, I don't care, but I'm high. They're like, you know what, Fuller, you should take a seat. And hey, thanks for thinking about it, though.
I just love that line is like, you can't quite tell if he's just like high and saying it or if it's actually like kind of like a little quit back.
Yeah.
It's like,
A little bit of both. A little bit of
both,
both.
yeah. Definitely.
But the fact that like the doc's like, come on, McCready, let's go check out the camp, and then Gary is like, McCready, this is really thin. Like I'm sorry, Commander in Chief, stick to point and shoot.
I'm gonna pass this.
And Mac's response is like, everyone is saying this is a bad idea because it's a bad idea because they could die, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
They could, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant died like that.
Yep.
So that's what we're talking about here.
Go
Yeah,
up,
helicopters aren't
visibility.
like inherently safe.
Yeah,
Like you're
they're
Inherently dangerous.
Yeah, they're
I don't
inherently
think they're very
dangerous.
safe at all,
Yeah.
actually. And in the terms of the weather, but Mac's response is, "It's fine by me. I just want to let you know we're taking a chance." Like he doesn't really seem to care about dying at that stage in the game. I think it's because, and this goes into a little bit of the backstory about the character that we don't get, that had to do a little bit of research, and they talk about this in the commentary, is that Carpenter and Russell had developed the backstory that McCready was Vietnam helicopter pilot, and that he, the reason that he deals is able to kind of deal with everything that's happening because he's seen his friends be fucking mutilated before, and is able to keep a level head in this scenario, but he is an alcoholic and depressed.
Well, I was gonna say it's clear that McCready's depressed, and it's clear that he's not well. Like he's not just drinking because he's bored. Yeah, that's a guy who's having a hard time. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that.
He sells that well.
Yeah, they totally sell that as a character. Like this is a guy who's having a hard time. He's going through shit, and like life is not fucking sunshine and rainbows to him.
This was a job.
Yeah. And so, but also, like, being a Vietnam pilot and being a pilot, right, he is kind of inherently a little bit brave, a little bit
stupid.
A little bit stupid.
Right, like, with his life.
Yeah. Yes. No, a little bit, like, think about the kind of person who becomes a helicopter pilot. Like, probably a little bit prone to risk. It's the kind of people who ride sports bikes, you know, and take them fast and do all that shit. Like, you're a little bit inclined towards risk. That doesn't mean you want to crash and die. Yeah. But it does mean that taking a little bit of risk isn't something that you're so adverse to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it when I was watching the scene where they go to the Norwegian camp, and while Copper's response to everything that he sees is quite appropriate, McCready's very, very stoic, very just kind of like, yeah, this is what it is.
Yep.
And, hey, let's wrap it up. It's getting dark, sort of deal. Like it's gonna be harder to get back home. Like he's almost like not fazed by what he's seeing. Right. And I was thinking about what kind of person?
Yeah, it's not normal.
The only thing that,
like that
tossed him was the ice block they had pulled that was empty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's when he was like, "Yo."
Yeah.
The fuck?
Because that's not something he's familiar with.
Yeah,
he's familiar with burned down buildings and dead bodies.
This is fucked. Something here is not right. And then they go outside and they see the cooked one.
Yeah.
And he's just like, alright, we need to go back. Let's roll. Like, it's time to go. Yeah. But still very stoic and chill about it. Yeah.
And I think about also his monologue that he does in the tape recorder. And I think about how he mentions multiple times that he hasn't slept in days. Mm-hmm. And that's before they even hit the 48-hour mark.
Yeah.
So, this guy is probably going on the better part of, I would say, between 3 and 5 days of not sleeping.
Yeah.
Of not having good sleep. And he's sitting there still sipping on a bottle of scotch.
Hitting that bottle.
Yeah. And I'm wondering what kind of, body type, where his brain's at. Because to me, when I drink, I get sleepy, and dude, I also put myself in that scenario too. I was like, I would die in A Nightmare on Elm Street. I would die in the thing because guess what, man? When I'm tired, I'm falling the fuck asleep.
Oh yeah,
and I just can't stay up
for safety.
There's just no way that I would be drinking a bottle of J&B Scotch when I haven't slept in 5 days.
And you're supposed to be staying up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scotch would be to go to sleep. That'd be the point.
Yes. Yeah. So, just the I don't know, the type of man, whatever he endured, whoever he was before. I think there's actually a novel that is an unofficial novel, and they changed the name of the character to something very, very similar, but it's McCready, but it's under a different name.
It's
basically.
MacReady.
That's what it is. But they do a whole backstory. But I haven't read it. But it is a curious thing to kind of know who this man was before. But also totally unnecessary at the end of the day. Because how he functions as a character in the picture is just. Nah.
You are by far the youngest person I know who says picture still, by the way. Yeah. The only other person I know who says picture regularly is my grandpa, and he's 97 years old, so.
Not even TK, huh?
No, he doesn't say picture.
Cinema.
Well, you know what? It's come after doing enough movie reviews that I get tired of saying film, flick, and movie. I gotta throw another...
gotta have more...
Was it adjectives or
Yeah. No.
No.
It's a noun. It's a pronoun. Yeah. I guess it's a noun.
God, we went to school, right?
While we're talking about
I don't know if I
McCready,
did.
though,
Yeah.
I had a whole
Please
section
say
of one-liners, and
Yes, hit me with
out
it.
of the 4 that I wrote down, 3 of them are from him. The
Okay.
first one was when they go to the Norwegian base camp. He goes, "Anybody there? Hey, Sweden!"
I fucking love that line.
And I was just like, and he's got a stupid fucking hat on. It's just like, oh, all right, write it down. The other one was a Family Guy reference because I just love that he says, "We're gonna draw a little bit of everybody's blood. We're gonna find out who's the thing." And I'm like,
They said the name of the movie.
and then of course, tail end when he's like, "Yeah, fuck you too," throws the dynamite.
I love that line. It
Tuck and rolls away
It is a
like a
quintessential,
superhero.
like,
That's right.
80s action hero, like,
was
one-liner, but it
Great.
works because any one of us in that scenario had a monster just, like, fucking popped out of the ground and we were getting ready to chuck a stick of dynamite. Guess what? It wouldn't be stick around. It wouldn't be hasta la vista, baby.
No, it would be like,
it would
yeah,
be,
fuck
yeah,
you
fuck
too.
you too.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it would be.
It doesn't
totally
do anything.
would.
It roars
It
at
totally
me.
would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lit fuse of dynamite
Right.
in my hand. Like, fuck you. And then tuck and roll.
Yeah.
Tuck and roll.
I love that.
One
No,
more
he was
thing.
so
I
goddamn
just
proud
fell
that
down.
he did his own stunt.
I mean, he was just trying to get away from that live stick of real dynamite as fast as he could.
That wasn't a stunt. That was
Oh
real.
my god.
That wasn't a stunt at all.
Oh man.
That was Kurt Russell trying not to get blown up.
I just want to see like like cut together, like sped up like a little bit with the music just like him dodging like fucking John Carpenter just chucking stick of dynamite at
Play
him.
the Benny Hill music.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it is. Oh yeah. Thank you. It was pissing me off because I had it at the tip of my tongue and then I lost it. I was like, oh god.
Fuck.
Oh man. Just because it's the name of this category and I couldn't figure out where else to put it, but the scene where they decide who's gonna essentially take charge and Childs goes to reach for the gun and McCready has that really good one-liner that I fucking love it. I love that line. I love the delivery. Maybe someone a little bit more even-tempered Childs. Just, I love that way of just like, someone who's not going to lose their shit. And the phrase even-tempered is not nearly used enough as far as I'm concerned.
Him and Childs are just like constantly like
Because
he's the only other
they
person.
are the two, because Childs is like naturally like the leader.
Right.
Childs is
he's his contender. when it
but
comes
he's
to
also
that.
the one that would run that ship into the ground.
Yeah, he's
quick.
making those rash decisions. But McCready's like, dude, you're gonna get me fucking killed. I have to make the decisions myself.
Exactly.
Again, it's he's covering his ass.
In that scene though, that's where they discover that the blood bags have been
That's right.
destroyed, and they were going to use that to do a test. That scene, it's all about who got to the blood bags. The lock was undamaged, which means that someone had the key. It wasn't Copper who had access to the key, and it wasn't Gary. Both of them state that who carries the key, the station master. So was neither of them. We find out that neither of them were the thing. Neither of them had been infected up to that point. Any ideas who might have gotten their hands on the key?
I read something about it.
What?
It was like little hidden things that people might have missed in the film. And when they open up the fridge, the like seal gasket is hanging off of it. And so like somebody's speculation was that, well, I mean, it can move via blood, clearly. So it probably just went in without having even used the lock. And that was like a whole big fucking thing.
Genius.
But I'm like, damn, what? And I was like, I don't know, because both of them weren't infected.
Yeah.
Who were key holders. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, damn. And they have a little screenshot of the scene with the fridge open, like the gasket's like hanging halfway off. You're like, oh, what the fuck?
That's very interesting.
And I'm like, damn, I earned
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I was like,
really
that's
cool.
cool. Yeah.
So,
What the fuck?
I mean, odds are
Yeah,
at
you know.
that stage of the game, it's probably Palmer that did it.
That would be my thought.
Yeah.
Is that it was Palmer? Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's
Because then he's infected.
yeah.
Right.
He's on
That's
that
why
batch.
I figure it's
Right.
Palmer, yeah.
Yeah. But then I always had a fucking issue with the dog walking into someone's room.
Well,
and
that
you just
shadow.
see this shadow.
That shadow that looks like nobody in the camp, by the way.
The only one I could think of was Palmer.
That
Or
is-
Windows, because
yeah.
of like their little froze. But
Yeah.
that's it, and it's still kind of far
Yeah.
fetched, regardless.
I think the person that he walks in it on is Palmer. But I mean, John
Right.
Carpenter specifically said we got someone that didn't look like anybody.
That's hilarious.
So
I love that.
you couldn't decide, which is
Yeah.
smart. It's
Yep.
really really smart.
Great
Yep.
scene. Fuck.
Cagey bastard.
But my money is on the person that gets overtaken by the dog is Palmer.
Right, because he's just
Right.
so like he's still talking and
Yeah.
everything. I'm like, it must be so far along, assimilation wise, stuff and doing all that.
Well,
So-
you know, let me see. I have a little bit of talk about this. They discuss it in the commentary where they talk about
nice.
do you know if you've been overtaken or not?
Right.
And I don't think you do. I don't think you're like aware. Maybe there's like a little tingling. Maybe like you had a half remembered dream or something like that. But I don't think you are fully aware that you're not
anymore.
you. You know, maybe every now and then you get a weird sensation or something like that. But if the thing is a perfect imitation of you,
Right.
theoretically you should not know, right?
Or you're just not there anymore.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
It's you now, is how I would envision
That's how
it.
I think
Yeah.
of it too, because it's like it's not a perfect imitation of you, because if you poke it with fire, it goes, and I don't do that, so
Yeah.
it's not a 1-to-1 imitation.
Well, my thought with this is that the Norris bit,
Mhm.
Norris clearly has a heart attack. When he goes to
Right.
when McCready's coming back and he goes to like call for everyone to look because he sees McCready out the window, he goes
Mhm.
and I don't think that's not the thing doing that. That's him having a heart
Yeah.
attack.
Right.
So would the thing it has to be his body responding to that. He's clearly
Right.
infected.
That's true.
But if the thing did imitate him, that means it would imitate his imperfections.
yeah.
So Norris
Or
could have
that's-
been getting ready to have a heart
right.
attack as a normal person.
Yeah.
But because the thing, assimilated him perfectly, that it would take on his imperfections. See,
Yeah.
there's inconsistencies.
Okay, so this
There
is what I was going to come to, is that it doesn't make perfect sense,
No.
and that has to be okay. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's also, I think it's kind of okay too, because not to hijack your point here, but are you guys at all familiar with other I mean, I know you're familiar with generally with cosmic horror, but
Yes.
H.P. Lovecraft cosmic horror?
I love H.P. Lovecraft.
I do too. So I think it because this is cosmic horror is what it is.
Yes.
It's beyond our
100%.
comprehension horror.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of okay that the thing itself is a little bit beyond our comprehension.
Right.
I think that's part of the fun.
It doesn't all have to make sense.
Exactly.
Of course.
It's
Yeah.
a little bit
can't.
too much for us. It's a little bit
Yeah.
outside our bounds of understanding. I kind of dig that.
Yeah.
Myself.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if I could think of a better way to wrap up this episode because I'm sure we've already gone on for a piping hot minute.
Yeah.
Sorry for all the interruptions from the youngster, but hey, if you're a listener and you're a fan, then you know that we have fun here, and my kid's really cool. So
He's still assimilating.
Yeah.
What the fuck did you just say? I legit have nightmares about my dog.
Oh my God.
I have
Dog?
nightmares
Whoa.
about my dog, and I wake up to my dog laying right next to me.
That
That shit
thing's coming out of the back of his fur and then
terrifying, dude.
When you look at him,
And he's like, "Oh, it wasn't me, Dad."
Sorry, you say something, Dad? What's
Licks
up, Dad? Yeah, dude. I've had a couple, and it's fucked. But
I hate that.
we will be continuing our discussion on The Thing. We got a lot more fun stuff in store for you guys. It's gonna be a couple of weeks before you hear the next bit. It's gonna be a couple of minutes for us before we record it, but
Time traveling.
don't let that fool you.
That's pretty cool.
See you next week, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
We just changed clothes really quick.
I'm just wearing Johnny's clothes for some reason.
We're all just
Jeans.
throwing each other into each other's clothes.
Everyone pass your outfit to the left.
Now and then we're all just pretending to be each other.
Oh, that's even more fun.
Oh god, talk about assimilation. Until next time, I am Johnny Horror. You are listening to the Johnny Horror Podcast with me, my friends, my co-hosts, my guests, Brian Calvert, Kalen Behrman, and we will see you motherfuckers on the flip side. But until then, back off. Way off. Adios, muchachos.
That was so aggressive.